Hidden beneath the pages of history lie secrets that refuse to be unlocked. Picture this: a message carved into stone or inked onto parchment centuries ago, staring back at us with silent defiance. These aren't just forgotten words, they're deliberate puzzles left behind by ancient minds, daring us to crack their codes. From cryptic manuscripts filled with unknown alphabets to strange symbols etched into artifacts, these mysteries have outlasted empires and defied modern technology. What if the key to understanding lost civilizations is trapped inside these unreadable texts? Today, we're diving into 50 of history's most stubborn enigmas, codes so complex that even the brightest cryptographers and historians hit dead ends. Some might hold treasure maps or revolutionary knowledge. Others could rewrite history books, but one thing's certain: each unsolved cipher is a tantalizing invitation to step into the shoes of a detective, where every stroke, symbol, or knot could be the breakthrough moment. Ready to explore the messages that time forgot? Let's begin. Now, let's turn our attention to one of history's most infamous puzzles, the Voynich Manuscript. This mysterious book, dating back to the 15th century, is unlike anything else ever discovered. Written in an unknown script that has baffled linguists and cryptographers for centuries, its pages are filled with bizarre illustrations that only deepen the enigma. Strange plants that don't match any known species, intricate astronomical diagrams, and oddly detailed human figures, often submerged in or connected to what appear to be biological or celestial systems, fill its vellum pages. What makes the Voynich Manuscript even more frustrating for researchers is that it doesn't resemble any known language or cipher system. Some believe it could be an elaborate hoax, while others argue it might hold lost scientific or alchemical knowledge. Despite countless attempts, from World War II codebreakers to modern artificial intelligence, no one has cracked its meaning. Could it be a secret language invented by a lone genius? A forgotten dialect, or something even more extraordinary? The manuscript's resilience against decryption only adds to its allure. Every time experts think they've found a pattern, the text slips through their grasp, leaving behind more questions than answers. And so, this enigmatic book remains a silent challenge, daring anyone who dares to try and unlock its secrets. Now, shifting our focus to the many theories surrounding the Voynich Manuscript, let's dive into the most compelling explanations for its mysterious existence. One popular idea is that it's an elaborate medieval hoax, a clever forgery designed to deceive wealthy collectors. Skeptics argue that the text might be meaningless gibberish, crafted to look like a real language while containing no actual information. If true, this would make the manuscript one of history's most successful pranks, fooling experts for centuries. On the other end of the spectrum, some researchers believe the manuscript holds genuine, albeit lost, knowledge. Could it be an encoded herbal or medical text preserving forgotten remedies? The detailed illustrations of plants and biological systems suggest it might have been a scientific reference, possibly written in a cipher to protect valuable secrets. Others propose it's a religious or alchemical work, filled with symbolic imagery meant only for initiated eyes. Then there are the more unconventional theories. A handful of scholars have suggested the script could be a constructed language, invented by an eccentric scholar or secret society. Even wilder claims point to extraterrestrial origins or time-traveling authors, though these ideas lack concrete evidence. Modern technology hasn't made deciphering the Voynich any easier. Advanced computational methods, including artificial intelligence and statistical analysis, have failed to find consistent patterns. The text resists linguistic classification, and its structure defies known code-breaking techniques. Whether it's an unsolved cipher, an ancient hoax, or something beyond our current understanding, the Voynich Manuscript remains one of history's most stubborn puzzles. As we move forward, let's explore another enigmatic code that has equally resisted interpretation: the Rongorongo Script of Easter Island. just like the Voynich, it challenges everything we think we know about ancient communication. Turning our attention to the remote shores of Easter Island, we encounter another baffling mystery, the Rongorongo Script. Unlike the Voynich Manuscript, which was penned on parchment, these cryptic symbols were painstakingly carved into wooden tablets by the Rapa Nui people centuries ago. The glyphs themselves are a mesmerizing mix of human figures, animals, and geometric shapes, arranged in alternating lines that suggest a sophisticated writing system. Yet despite their intricate appearance, no one has ever convincingly deciphered their meaning. What makes Rongorongo even more intriguing is its possible link to the island's dramatic collapse. Some researchers believe the script may hold records of environmental crises, societal upheaval, or even the arrival of European colonizers, events that pushed Easter Island civilization to the brink. If true, cracking this code could rewrite our understanding of one of history's most enigmatic collapses. But here's the biggest obstacle: linguists can't connect Rongorongo to any known language family. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform, which were eventually decoded using bilingual texts, Rongorongo stands alone. The Rapa Nui language itself survives, but the script's symbols don't neatly align with its spoken words. Some experts argue it might not even be a true writing system, but rather a form of proto-writing or ritual notation. Adding to the frustration, many of the original tablets were lost or destroyed over time, leaving only a handful for study. Missionaries in the 19th century reportedly burned some as pagan artifacts, while others simply rotted away in the island's humid climate. Today, surviving examples are scattered across museums worldwide, making it even harder for scholars to compare and analyze them. Despite these challenges, modern technology offers new hope. Computer algorithms and pattern recognition tools are being applied to Rongorongo, searching for hidden structures or repetitions that human eyes might miss. Could these efforts finally unlock the secrets of Easter Island's lost script? For now, the glyphs remain silent, guarding their stories just as the island's famous Moai statues guard its shores. Next, we'll journey even further back in time to the Indus Valley, where an even older script has defied translation for thousands of years. Now, let's travel even deeper into the past, to the banks of the Indus River, where one of the world's oldest urban civilizations left behind a script that has puzzled scholars for centuries. The Indus Valley Script, etched onto seals, pottery, and copper tablets around 4,000 years ago, is a collection of mysterious symbols that look almost like a mix of abstract art and early writing. But unlike the Rosetta Stone, which gave us the key to Egyptian hieroglyphs, this ancient code has no bilingual text to act as a decoder ring. What makes the Indus script so frustrating is its brevity. Most inscriptions are just 4 or 5 symbols long, some even shorter, making it nearly impossible to detect patterns or grammar. Imagine trying to crack a secret language when all you have are scattered words or phrases without context. Some researchers argue these symbols might not represent a full language at all, but could be clan markings, religious signs, or even early accounting notes. But here's where modern technology steps in. Artificial intelligence has been thrown into the mix, with machine learning models analyzing thousands of these symbols for hidden structures. Some algorithms suggest the script shows signs of a spoken language, with certain symbols appearing in sequences that hint at syntax. Others remain skeptical, pointing out that without a longer sample or a bilingual inscription, even the smartest AI can only make educated guesses. The stakes are high. Deciphering the Indus script could unlock secrets about one of history's most advanced Bronze Age societies, their trade networks, governance, or even why their cities were eventually abandoned. Were they writing poetry, recording laws, or simply labeling goods? For now, the symbols remain silent, but with every technological breakthrough, we get one step closer to hearing their story. Next, we'll venture to the Mediterranean, where another undeciphered script Linear A holds clues to the rise and fall of the Minoan civilization. Leaving the Indus Valley behind, we set sail for the sun-drenched island of Crete, where the Minoans built a dazzling civilization and left behind a writing system that still guards its secrets. Meet Linear A, the script etched onto clay tablets by palace administrators between 1800 and 1450 BCE. These aren't just random scratches, they're detailed records of trade goods, livestock, and offerings, giving us a glimpse into Europe's first advanced bureaucracy. But here's the twist: while we can see what they were counting, we have no idea what they were actually saying. Linear A gets its name from the elegant, linear strokes that set it apart from earlier hieroglyphic symbols used by the Minoans. But its real intrigue lies in its connection to Linear B, a script cracked in the 1950s that revealed an early form of Greek. You'd think that would help, right? Not so fast. While the two scripts share similar symbols, Linear A encodes a completely different language, one that doesn't match any known tongue from the ancient Mediterranean. It's like having a key that fits the lock but won't turn. Scholars have tried everything, comparing symbol frequencies, matching them to later Cypriot scripts, even hunting for links to Etruscan or Anatolian languages. But Linear A resists all attempts. Part of the problem: most tablets are dry accounting lists. 300 jars of oil or 20 sheep. Without poetry, myths, or royal decrees, the kinds of texts that help decode Egyptian or Mesopotamian scripts, there's just not enough context to crack the grammar or vocabulary. Yet these mundane records hint at something extraordinary. The Minoans weren't just scribbling numbers, they were running a complex economy with centralized control, international trade, and maybe even tax systems. Deciphering Linear A could rewrite our understanding of how Mediterranean cultures influenced each other long before classical Greece. For now, though, the tablets sit silent, a reminder that even the most practical documents can become puzzles when their language vanishes. Next, we'll examine a far more mysterious artifact from the same era, the Phaistos disc, a fired clay enigma that some call ancient Crete's greatest hoax. Now, let's turn our attention to an artifact so baffling that even its authenticity is hotly debated: the Phaistos disc. Unearthed in 1908 at the Minoan palace of Phaistos on Crete, this palm-sized clay disc is covered on both sides with a spiral of 45 unique symbols stamped into the clay with precision. Unlike Linear A, which at least gives us rows of recognizable accounting notes, the Phaistos disc offers no such clues. Its symbols, ranging from human figures and animals to abstract shapes, appear in short, repeating groups, but no one has ever matched them to a known language or deciphered their meaning. What makes this disc even more mysterious is how it was made. The symbols weren't carved or painted. They were pressed into the clay using individual stamps, making this one of the earliest examples of movable type printing in history. That's right, centuries before Gutenberg, someone in Bronze Age Crete might have been using a primitive printing system. But here's where the controversy kicks in. Critics argue the disc is too perfect, too unlike other Minoan artifacts. Could it be an ancient hoax or even a modern forgery planted to deceive archaeologists? Supporters of its authenticity point to the disc's aging and the context of its discovery, buried in a temple complex alongside genuine Minoan relics. Yet, even if it's real, the bigger question remains: what was it for? Some think it's a religious hymn, others a diplomatic message, or even a board game. The lack of any similar finds means we have nothing to compare it to, leaving the Phaistos disc as one of archaeology's most stubborn enigmas. Whether it's a genuine artifact or an elaborate riddle from the past, the disc challenges our assumptions about ancient technology and communication. Up next, we'll delve into another cryptic manuscript, this one from medieval Hungary, filled with symbols that defy every attempt at translation. Shifting our gaze from the ancient Mediterranean to medieval Europe, we encounter another cryptic masterpiece, the Rohunk Codex. Discovered in Hungary in the early 19th century, This mysterious manuscript is written in an entirely unknown script, accompanied by strange illustrations that have baffled scholars for over 200 years. The codex contains 448 pages of dense, handwritten symbols, arranged in neat rows that resemble a language, yet not a single character matches any known alphabet, ancient or modern. What makes the Rongorongo Codex even more intriguing are its bizarre illustrations. Scattered throughout the text are drawings of religious scenes, battles, and what appear to be alchemical symbols. Some pages depict crucifixions and saints, suggesting a Christian influence, while others show suns, moons, and cryptic diagrams that hint at occult or scientific knowledge. This mix has led to fierce debates. Was this a sacred text for a secret religious sect, or perhaps an alchemist's encoded notebook? Linguists have tried every tool at their disposal to crack the code. Some claim the script resembles old Hungarian runes or Dacian symbols, while others argue it's a cleverly constructed fake. One theory even suggests it was created as an elaborate hoax to confuse scholars. But if it's a forgery, why go to such lengths? The paper and ink have been dated to the 16th century, adding weight to its authenticity. Despite decades of analysis, no one has convincingly translated a single word. The script structure defies patterns seen in real languages, and without a bilingual key, like the Rosetta Stone, the codex remains a tantalizing dead end. Whether it's a lost spiritual text or an elaborate puzzle, the Rongorongo Codex stands as one of history's most persistent linguistic mysteries. Next, we'll uncover a cipher tied to buried treasure, one that has tempted fortune hunters for generations. Now, let's turn our attention from religious mysteries to a tantalizing treasure hunt, the Beale Ciphers. In the early 19th century, a man named Thomas J. Beale supposedly buried a fortune in gold and silver somewhere in Bedford County, Virginia. He left behind 3 encrypted papers promising they held the location of the treasure, details of its contents, and the names of its rightful owners. Only one of these ciphers has ever been cracked, and the other 2 remain stubbornly unsolved, fueling over a century of speculation and fruitless digging. The second cipher, decoded in the late 1800s, used a simple but clever key, the United States Declaration of Independence. Each number in the cipher corresponded to a word in the document, with the first letter of that word revealing the hidden message. This breakthrough confirmed the existence of the treasure, describing it in vivid detail. Thousands of pounds of gold and silver, along with jewels, all waiting to be claimed. But here's the catch: the other 2 ciphers, which supposedly pinpoint the exact location and list the owners, refuse to yield to the same method. Cryptographers have thrown every technique at them, from frequency analysis to brute force computing, but the ciphers resist all attempts. Some believe Beale used a different key document, perhaps a local text or even a misprinted version of the declaration. Others argue the unsolved papers might be hoaxes designed to send treasure hunters on a wild goose chase. Yet the sheer effort put into the first cipher suggests there's more to the story. What keeps the Beale ciphers so frustrating and fascinating is their duality. One solved cipher proves there's substance to the legend, while the others dangle the prize just out of reach. Whether the treasure was ever found or still lies buried, the mystery endures as a testament to the enduring allure of unsolved codes. Next, we'll examine an enigmatic inscription carved into an English monument, one that's been linked to everything from the Holy Grail to a secret society cipher. Shifting our gaze from buried treasure to an aristocratic enigma, we arrive at the Shugborough inscription, a cryptic sequence of letters carved into the shepherd's monument on an English estate. The letters OUOSVAVV have baffled historians, cryptographers, and even famous minds like Charles Dickens and Charles Darwin for over 2 centuries. Nestled beneath a mirror image reproduction of Nicholas Poussin's painting The Shepherds of Arcadia, this 8-letter puzzle has sparked theories ranging from secret societies to biblical prophecies. One of the most persistent theories ties the inscription to the Holy Grail. Some researchers believe the letters are an acronym for a Latin phrase, perhaps oro ut omnes sequanta viam ad veram vitam, I pray that all may follow the way to true life. This interpretation connects the monument to the Grail legend, suggesting the Anson family, who owned the estate, might have been custodians of a hidden spiritual truth. Others argue the letters correspond to initials of a romantic poem or a coded message left by Freemasons, given the family's ties to the organization. Yet, despite countless attempts, no solution has gained universal acceptance. The inscription's brevity is both its charm and its curse, too short for statistical analysis, yet too deliberate to dismiss as random. Modern codebreakers have tried everything from Caesar shifts to reverse alphabet ciphers, but the letters resist decoding. Even the monument's eerie connection to Poussin's painting, long rumored to hold Grail-related clues, adds layers of intrigue without offering answers. What makes the Shugborough inscription so compelling is its elegant simplicity. Unlike sprawling manuscripts or complex ciphers, this puzzle is just 8 letters long, yet it encapsulates the essence of historical mystery, a whisper of meaning tantalizingly out of reach. Next, we'll explore a musical cipher composed by one of Britain's most celebrated composers, a puzzle as melodic as it is maddening. Now we turn from stone carvings to something far more delicate, a musical mystery penned by one of England's greatest composers. In 1897, Edward Elgar, the genius behind Pomp and Circumstance, sent a peculiar note to a young woman named Dora Penny. At first glance, it looked like a sheet of music gone wild, 87 whimsical squiggles, some resembling half-moons, others like tangled loops. But this was no random doodle. It was the Dorabella cipher, a puzzle that has resisted decryption for over a century. Elgar was a lifelong lover of codes, often weaving them into his compositions and letters. Some believe this cipher was a playful love note to Dora, whom he affectionately nicknamed Dorabella. Others think it might hide a private joke or even a musical motif, given Elgar's habit of encoding melodies in symbols. The cipher's curves seem to dance on the page, but their meaning remains stubbornly out of reach. Cryptographers have tried everything, assigning letters to the squiggles, treating them as musical notes, even searching for patterns in Elgar's other works. Yet the cipher defies all approaches. Part of the challenge is its brevity. With just 87 symbols, there's not enough material for statistical analysis. And without a key or Elgar's personal explanation, the cipher floats in a sea of speculation. What makes the Dorabella cipher so enchanting is its intimacy. Unlike grand historical codes, this one feels like a whisper between friends, a fleeting moment of creativity frozen in ink. Was it a confession, a riddle? Or simply Elgar's way of saying, "Think of me," until someone cracks it? We're left with the same curiosity Dora must have felt, staring at those enigmatic curves. Up next, a cipher tied to a real-life thriller, the cryptic note found on a dead man in Australia, wrapped in layers of Cold War intrigue. Now we step into a real-life mystery straight out of a spy novel, one that begins on a quiet beach in Australia and spirals into a web of codes, espionage, and an unidentified corpse. On the 1st of December 1948, a well-dressed man was found dead on Somerton Beach near Adelaide, slumped against a seawall with no identification, no wallet, and no obvious cause of death. The only clue, a scrap of paper tucked deep in his pocket, bearing the words Tamam Shud, Persian for ended or finished. This torn fragment led investigators to a rare copy of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a book of Persian poetry. Inside its back cover, someone had scribbled a string of seemingly random letters, a cipher that's never been solved. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. The book also held faint indentations of another note, possibly a phone number, adding another layer to the enigma. Theories about the Somerton man range from Cold War espionage to a tragic love affair. Some believe he was a spy, given the era's tensions and the cipher's potential ties to intelligence work. Others think the code might conceal a personal message, perhaps linked to a local nurse who owned the book and whose phone number matched the indentations. But with no decrypted message and no identity for the dead man, every theory remains speculative. What makes this case unforgettable is its haunting simplicity. A man without a name, a note without a translation, and a book that whispers more questions than answers. Was Tamam Shudder farewell, a warning, or the key to a story we'll never fully know? Next, we'll examine another cipher stamped not on paper, but on something far more unexpected: 7 gold bars, each hiding a message that could rewrite history. Now we turn from the tragic mystery of the Somerton man to a puzzle forged in gold, literally. Picture this: 7 gleaming gold bars, each weighing over 2 pounds, stamped with cryptic Chinese characters, numbers, and symbols. These weren't just any ingots. They surfaced in the 1930s, allegedly tied to a bank deposit in Shanghai, and their messages have baffled experts ever since. The inscriptions on these bars are a mix of Mandarin and what some believe could be code from a secret society, possibly the notorious Green Gang or even a clandestine banking network. One theory suggests they were part of a complex financial transaction, with the coded text acting as a verification system. Others speculate the bars might have been used to fund political movements or even underground operations during China's turbulent pre-war era. What makes these gold bars so intriguing is their duality. They're both treasure and cipher. The characters include dates, names, and what appear to be financial amounts, but arranged in a way that resists straightforward translation. Some researchers think the code could be a book cipher where numbers correspond to specific words in a key text, perhaps a classic Chinese text known only to the intended recipients. Despite modern efforts, no one has cracked the gold bar cipher definitively. Were they a billionaire's ledger, a spy's payroll, or a secret society's ledger? The answer might still be buried in the vaults of history. Next, we'll unravel a cipher that terrorized a nation: the Zodiac Killer's Unsolved 340 cipher, a puzzle that even the FBI couldn't fully decode. Shifting from the golden mysteries of Shanghai, we enter a far darker chapter of unsolved codes, one written in blood. The Zodiac Killer's 340 cipher is perhaps the most chilling puzzle in criminal history, a taunting message sent to newspapers in 1969, daring authorities to decode it before he struck again. This cipher, named for its 340 characters, was the killer's fourth communication, following 3 earlier cryptograms, 2 of which were cracked. But the 340 resisted every effort, even as the Zodiac terrorized California with murders and cryptic letters. The FBI threw its top cryptanalysts at the problem, but the cipher's mix of symbols, letters, and possible red herrings proved too convoluted. Some experts believe it used a homophonic substitution system where multiple symbols could represent the same letter, while others argue it might include deliberate errors to mislead. Decades later, in 2020, a team of amateur codebreakers made headlines with a partial breakthrough. Using modern algorithms and crowdsourced collaboration, they uncovered fragments of the message, including phrases like, "I hope you are having lots of fun," and "try to catch me." But critical gaps remain, leaving the cipher's full meaning, and the killer's identity shrouded in mystery. What makes the 340 cipher so haunting isn't just its unsolved state, but the Zodiac's own gamesmanship. He boasted that the code held his name, yet even with 21st century technology, that claim remains unverified. Was it another psychological ploy, or does the answer still lie hidden in those cryptic symbols? Next, we'll step into the world of art and espionage with a sculpture at CIA headquarters that holds one of the most stubborn unsolved codes of the modern era: Kryptos. Now, let's turn from the chilling taunts of the Zodiac Killer to a puzzle that sits in plain sight yet remains just as elusive. At the heart of the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, a sculpture named Kryptos has baffled codebreakers for over 3 decades. Created by artist Jim Sanborn in 1990, this enigmatic artwork is etched with 4 encrypted messages, 3 of which have been cracked. But the 4th section, the longest and most complex, continues to defy even the brightest minds in cryptography. The first 3 sections of Kryptos were decoded by the CIA's own analysts and amateur sleuths, revealing poetic fragments and references to hidden secrets. One passage describes the process of burying something in the moonlight, while another quotes archaeologist Howard Carter's diary upon opening Tutankhamun's tomb. These solved sections hint at layers of meaning, blending art with espionage. Yet the 4th cipher, consisting of 97 characters, resists all attempts. Sanborn has dropped occasional clues, like revealing that the letters nipped in the unsolved portion spell Berlin, but the full message remains locked away. What makes Kryptos so fascinating is its dual nature, part artwork, part intellectual challenge. Sanborn collaborated with a retired CIA cryptographer to design the codes, ensuring they'd withstand scrutiny. Some speculate the unsolved section points to classified operations or ancient Egyptian themes, while others believe it's a personal statement from the artist. With each passing year, the mystery deepens as even advances in artificial intelligence and crowd-sourced efforts fail to crack it. As we move forward, prepare to unravel another artifact wrapped in mystery, this time a linen-clad mummy bearing untranslated Etruscan text, a language lost to time. The Labyrinthus holds clues to a civilization that vanished, leaving behind words no one alive today can fully understand. Shifting our focus from the unsolved cipher at the CIA, let's revisit one of history's most haunting cold cases, the Taman Shud mystery. This enigmatic story takes us back to 1948, when an unidentified man was found dead on an Australian beach, clutching a torn scrap of paper with the words Taman Shud printed on it. These words, meaning ended or finished in Persian, led investigators to a rare copy of the Rubaiyat, a collection of poems by the 12th century Persian poet Omar Khayyam. The book had a page torn out, matching the scrap in the dead man's pocket. But how does this ancient poetry connect to an unsolved death? The Rubaiyat wasn't just any book. Inside its back cover, detectives found a series of handwritten letters that appeared to be a code or perhaps a cipher. Some believe these markings could reveal the man's identity or the reason behind his mysterious death. The code has never been cracked, despite decades of effort by amateur and professional cryptographers alike. Adding to the intrigue, the Rubaiyat's themes of fate and mortality seem eerily tied to the case. Was the victim sending a final, poetic message, or was the book simply a red herring? What makes this puzzle even more compelling are the theories surrounding the man himself. Some speculate he was a spy, given the Cold War tensions of the era, while others suggest he may have been a heartbroken lover, using the Rubaiyat's verses to express his despair. The torn page itself is a tantalizing clue. Was it a deliberate act, or did someone else remove it to hide critical information? As we piece together these fragments, one thing is clear: the Taman Shud case is more than just an unsolved death. It's a layered mystery where poetry, cryptography, and history collide. And with the original Rubaiyat now lost, the truth may remain as elusive as the cipher itself. Next, we'll uncover another artifact wrapped in mystery, this time a set of gold bars stamped with cryptic messages, possibly tied to Chinese secret societies and a shadowy bank deposit from the 1930s. Moving from the shadowy intrigue of the Taman Shud case, we now journey even further back in time, to the dawn of written communication itself. Buried in the sands of ancient Iran lies a script so old it predates even the famous cuneiform of Mesopotamia. This is the Proto-Elamite script, a system of markings etched onto clay tablets over 5,000 years ago. Unlike its cousin cuneiform, which was eventually deciphered, Proto-Elamite remains stubbornly unreadable. But why? The answer lies in its unique place in history. Proto-Elamite emerged around 3100 BCE, making it one of the earliest writing systems ever developed. Archaeologists believe it was used by the Elamite civilization, centered in what's now southwestern Iran. But here's the catch: while cuneiform evolved into a full-fledged language, Proto-Elamite seems frozen in an earlier stage, a bridge between simple accounting symbols and true writing. Many of its signs resemble basic tallies or pictograms, likely used to track goods like grain or livestock. Without clearer grammatical structure or bilingual texts to compare, cracking this code becomes a nightmare for linguists. What makes Proto-Elamite especially frustrating is its contrast with cuneiform. Both scripts began as practical tools for record keeping, but cuneiform's symbols gradually took on phonetic values, allowing them to represent spoken language. Proto-Elamite, however, appears stuck in a proto-writing phase. Its symbols may denote quantities or objects, but not necessarily words or sounds. Some researchers argue it wasn't even a complete writing system, but rather an administrative shorthand that died out when more sophisticated methods arrived. Yet the mystery deepens when we consider the tablets themselves. Over 1,600 have been found, many in the ruins of the ancient city of Susa. They're covered in neat, precise markings, evidence of a standardized system. But without a Rosetta Stone to link these symbols to a known language, every attempt at translation hits a wall. Even modern computational analysis struggles, as the script lacks the repetitive patterns seen in later writing systems. Could Proto-Elamite hold secrets about trade, politics, or daily life in one of the world's first civilizations? Until someone deciphers it, we're left with tantalizing fragments, a silent testament to humanity's first attempts to make language permanent. Next, we'll explore another ancient puzzle, the Vinca symbols of the Danube Valley, where strange Neolithic markings spark debates about the very origins of writing. Leaving behind the clay tablets of ancient Iran, we now travel westward to the banks of the Danube River, where an even older mystery awaits. Scattered across the Balkans, etched into pottery and figurines from over 7,000 years ago, are the enigmatic Vinca symbols. Discovered near modern-day Belgrade, these strange markings have ignited a fiery debate among archaeologists. Are they merely decorative, or could they represent the world's earliest writing system? What makes the Vinca symbols so fascinating is their sheer age. Dating back to the 6th millennium BC, they predate the earliest known Mesopotamian writing by more than 2,000 years. Found at sites like Vinca below Biardio, these symbols appear on household items, ritual objects, and even miniature altars. Some resemble simple crosses or zigzags, while others look eerily like later alphabetic characters, sparking theories that they might be a lost script. But without any clear context or bilingual inscriptions, their purpose remains hotly contested. One camp argues these marks are purely symbolic ritual signs or potter's signatures with no linguistic meaning. After all, many appear isolated rather than in sequences, unlike true writing systems. Yet others point to their standardized forms and recurring combinations as evidence of something more sophisticated. Could they encode names, prayers, or even early trade records? The lack of longer texts makes it impossible to say for certain, but the possibility tantalizes researchers. Adding fuel to the debate is their geographic spread. Vinca symbols have been found across a vast area from Serbia to Romania and Bulgaria, suggesting a shared cultural tradition. Some scholars propose they influenced later writing systems, like the linear of Crete, though no direct link has been proven. Modern attempts to decipher them using statistical analysis have yielded little without knowing the underlying language. The symbols remain mute. Whether the Vinca markings are proto-writing or sacred graffiti, they offer a glimpse into the Neolithic mind. If they are writing, it would rewrite history, pushing back the dawn of literacy by millennia. But until someone cracks their code, these cryptic signs will keep their secrets buried in the Balkan soil. Next, we return to Easter Island, where the Rapa Nui's lost language hints at a tragedy that erased more than just words. Shifting our focus back to the Pacific, we arrive once more on the isolated shores of Easter Island, where the Rapa Nui people's lost language holds clues to a cultural catastrophe. Unlike the silent Vinca symbols, the Rongorongo script wasn't always indecipherable. Oral traditions suggest that these intricate glyphs, carved into wooden tablets, were once fully understood by the island's elite until outside forces intervened. The tragedy of Rongorongo isn't just about an undeciphered script. It's about how history can be erased in an instant. When Christian missionaries arrived in the 1860s, they viewed the glyphs as pagan relics and pressured the Rapa Nui to destroy their tablets. Many were burned as firewood, while others were hidden away, severing the living connection to their meaning. By the time scholars took interest, only 26 fragile tablets survived, and the elders who could read them were gone. What little we know comes from fragmented accounts. Early European visitors noted that Rapa Nui chiefs would chant while tracing the glyphs with their fingers, hinting that the script was meant to be recited aloud, a mix of writing and oral performance. Some researchers believe it recorded genealogies, creation myths, or even navigational knowledge. But without a bilingual key or living tradition, piecing it together is like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. The glyphs themselves are a marvel, featuring human figures, plants, and abstract symbols arranged in alternating lines. Unlike most writing systems, they're read in reverse at the turn of each line, a method called baustrophedon. This complexity suggests a sophisticated system, yet attempts to match it to Polynesian languages have failed. Even statistical analysis of the symbol's frequency, a tool that cracked Egyptian hieroglyphs, hasn't yielded a breakthrough. Perhaps the most haunting clue lies in the island's birdman cult. Some tablets depict frigate birds and ceremonial staffs, tying the script to the annual Tangata Monu competition. Was Rongorongo used to document these rituals? We may never know for sure. The missionaries didn't just burn wood, they burned bridges to the past. Now, these silent glyphs stand as a reminder of how easily knowledge can vanish. Next, we'll uncover another silent language, this time wrapped around an Egyptian mummy, the Etruscan text of the Labyrinthus. Now, let's unravel a mystery that literally comes wrapped in ancient linen, the Labyrinthus. Picture this, an Egyptian mummy carefully preserved but with a twist. Its linen wrappings aren't inscribed with hieroglyphs or Coptic script. Instead, they're covered in Etruscan text, a language that has baffled scholars for centuries. This isn't just any Etruscan writing. It's the longest surviving example we've ever found, stretching over 1,200 words, and yet, despite its length, it remains largely untranslated. The story of how this mummy ended up with Etruscan wrappings is as strange as the script itself. In the mid-19th century, a Croatian official named Mihajlo Barak bought the mummy as a souvenir during his travels in Egypt. For years, it sat in his home as a curiosity until someone noticed the strange writing on the linen strips. When experts examined it, they realized the text wasn't Egyptian at all. It was Etruscan, a language spoken in what's now Italy centuries before the rise of Rome. So why would an Egyptian mummy be wrapped in linen covered with Etruscan writing? The answer lies in recycling. The linen was likely originally part of an Etruscan religious book, or Liber Linteus, which was later cut into strips and repurposed for mummification. It's a bizarre twist of fate, a sacred text turned into burial material, preserving words meant for the living alongside a body meant for the afterlife. The text itself is a puzzle. Etruscan isn't fully understood despite being written in an alphabet similar to Greek. We can read the letters, but the language itself is unlike any other in the region, making translation a slow, painstaking process. Some words have been deciphered, names of gods, references to rituals, even dates, but the overall meaning remains elusive. It's like having a book where you recognize every letter but can't grasp the story. What makes the Liber Linteus especially frustrating is its potential. If fully translated, it could unlock secrets about Etruscan religion, daily life, or even their mysterious origins. But for now, it sits in Zagreb's archaeological museum, a silent testament to a civilization that shaped early Rome yet left so little of its own voice behind. Next, we'll journey to the Americas, where an artifact known as the Cascadule block might rewrite the history of writing itself. Now, let's travel across the ocean to the lush landscapes of ancient Mesoamerica, where a small but groundbreaking artifact sits at the center of a fierce debate. Meet the Cascadule block, a fist-sized slab of serpentine stone carved with 62 mysterious glyphs, discovered in the late 1990s near an old Olmec site in Veracruz, Mexico. Dating back to around 900 before Common Era, this unassuming block might just hold the title of the oldest writing system in the Americas. What makes the Cascadule block so special? For starters, its symbols aren't random scratches, they're arranged in clear, deliberate rows, suggesting a structured writing system. Some glyphs resemble plants, animals, or even human faces, while others are abstract shapes. But here's the catch: unlike later Maya hieroglyphs, which we've largely deciphered, these Olmec symbols remain a linguistic enigma. Experts can't agree on whether they represent a true writing system, a proto-writing stage, or something else entirely. The discovery sent shockwaves through the archaeological world because it challenges long-held assumptions. For decades, historians believed the Maya were the first to develop writing in the Americas around 300 before Common Era. But if the Cascadule block's glyphs are indeed writing, it pushes that timeline back by 600 years and credits the Olmec, the so-called mother culture of Mesoamerica, with this revolutionary innovation. Skeptics argue the symbols might just be decorative or ritualistic, lacking the grammar and syntax of a full writing system. But supporters point to repeating patterns and sequences that hint at something more sophisticated. One tantalizing theory suggests the block could be a kind of recipe stone, recording rituals or even early trade transactions. Without more examples or a bilingual text to compare it to, though, the Cascadule block keeps its secrets close. What's undeniable is its cultural weight. The Olmecs, with their colossal stone heads and sprawling trade networks, clearly had a complex society. If they did invent writing, it would rewrite the story of how communication evolved in the Americas. For now, the block sits in Mexico's National Museum of Anthropology, a silent puzzle waiting for its Rosetta Stone moment. Next, we'll turn our attention to an even older contender in the writing debate, a wooden tablet from Greece that predates the Cascadule block by thousands of years. Leaving the mysteries of Mesoamerica behind, we journey even further back in time to the shores of Lake Castoria in northern Greece. Here, archaeologists made a discovery that rattled the foundations of writing's history: the Dispilio tablet. This unassuming piece of wood, carved with strange symbols and dated to around 5,200 before Common Era, predates the Cascadule block by more than 4,000 years. If its markings are indeed writing, it could append everything we thought we knew about where and when humans first put pen to paper, or in this case, tool to wood. Found submerged in the lake's muddy depths in 1993, the Dispilio tablet survived 5 millennia thanks to the oxygen-free environment. Its surface is etched with a series of angular symbols, some resembling branches or rudimentary tally marks. At first glance, they might look like simple scratches, but their deliberate arrangement in rows suggests something far more intentional. What's truly staggering is the age. This tablet was carved 2,000 years before the earliest known cuneiform in Mesopotamia, long hailed as the birthplace of writing. The implications are explosive. For over a century, historians have traced writing's origins to the administrative needs of Mesopotamian city-states around 3,200 before Common Era. But the Dispilio tablet hints at a different narrative, one where Neolithic farming communities in Europe might have developed symbolic communication independently. Could these carvings be an early form of record-keeping, perhaps tracking harvests or rituals? Or are they purely decorative, a prehistoric artist's doodle? Skeptics argue that without more examples or a clear link to later writing systems, the tablet symbols remain ambiguous, but supporters counter that their complexity, including repeated sequences and groupings, echoes the patterns we see in undeciphered scripts like Vinca symbols from nearby Serbia. Adding fuel to the fire, similar markings have been found on pottery fragments at the site, suggesting a broader cultural practice. What's undeniable is how the Despilio tablet forces us to rethink the linear story of human innovation. If writing emerged in multiple places across the globe at different times, it challenges the idea of Mesopotamia as the sole cradle of literacy. For now, the tablet sits quietly in a Greek museum, its symbols whispering tantalizing questions. Who carved them? What did they mean? And how many other ancient writing systems have we yet to uncover? Next, we'll venture into the rugged highlands of Bulgaria, where another cryptic inscription etched not on wood, but stone has sparked theories ranging from ancient Thracians to interstellar visitors. Shifting our focus to the rugged landscapes of Bulgaria, we encounter another enigma carved in stone, the Sutovo inscription. Nestled in the Rhodope Mountains, this set of mysterious symbols etched into a rock face has baffled researchers for decades. Unlike the Despilio tablet's orderly rows, the Sutovo carvings are a chaotic mix of lines, curves, and geometric shapes, some resembling ancient letters, others looking like nothing recognizable at all. Discovered in 1928 near the village of Sutovo, the inscription's origins are as debated as its meaning. Some scholars argue the symbols belong to the Thracians, the fierce warrior culture that dominated this region over 2,000 years ago. Others propose a Proto-Slavic connection, suggesting the markings could be an early form of Slavic writing predating the Cyrillic alphabet. Then there are the more unconventional theories. Could these carvings be a message from an advanced ancient civilization, or even evidence of extraterrestrial contact? What makes the Sutovo inscription so perplexing is its isolation. Unlike the Indus Valley Script or Linear A, which appear on multiple artifacts, this is the only known example of these symbols. Without additional texts for comparison, decipherment becomes nearly impossible. The carvings also lack the repetitive patterns seen in most writing systems, leaving experts unsure whether they're dealing with language, religious symbols, or something else entirely. Local legends add another layer of intrigue. Some villagers claim the inscription marks the entrance to a hidden treasure chamber, while others whisper it's a cursed site tied to ancient rituals. Modern technology hasn't helped much either. Laser scans and 3D imaging reveal the symbol's depth and precision but offer no clues to their purpose. Whether it's a forgotten alphabet, a boundary marker, or something far stranger, the Sutovo inscription remains one of Europe's most stubborn puzzles. It's a reminder that even in a world where we've decoded DNA and sent probes to Mars, the past still holds secrets we can't crack. Next, we'll cross continents to Bolivia, where a controversial artifact, the Fuente Magna bowl, blurs the lines between ancient cultures separated by oceans. Now, let's journey to the heart of South America, where a single artifact has sparked a firestorm of debate among historians. The Fuente Magna bowl, discovered in Bolivia in the 1950s, is a ceramic vessel covered in strange, intricate markings that bear an uncanny resemblance to ancient Sumerian cuneiform. This unexpected connection has led some researchers to propose a radical idea that civilizations separated by vast oceans might have interacted thousands of years earlier than we ever imagined. The bowl's inscriptions are the center of the controversy. While some experts argue the symbols are unmistakably Sumerian, others dismiss the resemblance as coincidence or even outright forgery. If genuine, the implications are staggering. Sumer, one of the world's earliest civilizations, flourished in Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, around 4,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the Fuente Magna bowl was found near Lake Titicaca, a region home to the Tiwanaku culture, which thrived centuries later. How could writing systems from opposite sides of the globe share such striking similarities? Supporters of the transoceanic contact theory point to the bowl as evidence of ancient seafaring or even lost migration routes. They suggest Sumerian traders or explorers might have reached South America, leaving behind this artifact as proof of their journey. Skeptics, however, highlight the lack of other Sumerian artifacts in the region and question whether the symbols were misinterpreted or artificially aged. Adding fuel to the debate, the bowl's discovery lacks clear archaeological context. It was reportedly found by a local farmer, not during a formal excavation, leaving its origins shrouded in uncertainty. Without definitive dating or additional examples of similar inscriptions, the Fuente Magna bowl remains an enigma, one that challenges our understanding of ancient human connections. Could this humble bowl rewrite history, or is it an elaborate hoax? Either way, it forces us to reconsider how isolated ancient civilizations truly were. Up next, we'll examine another artifact that blurs the lines between myth and history, the Tartaria tablets, whose symbols might predate even the earliest known writing systems. Turning our attention to the ancient lands of Romania, we encounter another artifact wrapped in mystery, the Tartaria tablets. Unearthed in the 1960s, these small clay objects date back an astonishing 5,500 years before the Common Era, making them older than the earliest known writing systems from Mesopotamia. What makes them so controversial? The tablets are etched with symbols that some researchers believe could represent Europe's first attempt at writing, while others argue they're nothing more than ritual markings or decorative design. The debate hinges on whether these symbols convey language or serve a purely symbolic function. Supporters of the writing theory point to the tablets' organized sequences of signs, which resemble later scripts like Sumerian cuneiform or the Vinca symbols found elsewhere in the Balkans. If true, this would push the origins of writing in Europe back by centuries, challenging the long-held belief that writing began in the Middle East. On the other side, skeptics highlight the lack of repeated patterns or clear linguistic structure. They suggest the markings might instead be religious symbols, ownership tags, or even early accounting tokens. Without a bilingual text or longer inscriptions to compare, deciphering their true purpose remains a daunting task. Adding to the intrigue, the tablets were discovered alongside human figurines and ritual objects, fueling theories that they held spiritual significance. Some scholars propose they were used in funerary rites or as votive offerings, with the symbols acting as a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. The Tartaria tablets force us to ask a profound question: when does a symbol become writing? If these markings do represent an early form of communication, they could rewrite the story of Europe's intellectual development. But until more evidence emerges, their secrets remain locked in clay. Next, we'll explore an even older set of symbols from China, the Jiahu markings, which might hold clues to the origins of written language itself. Now, let's journey even further back in time, to the banks of China's Yellow River, where archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary. Buried in the ancient settlement of Jiahu, tortoise shells and animal bones bear markings that date back a staggering 9,000 years. These symbols, etched with deliberate precision, might just be the earliest precursors to Chinese writing, predating the famous oracle bones of the Shang dynasty by thousands of years. What makes the Jiahu symbols so fascinating is their resemblance to later Chinese characters. Some of the markings look eerily similar to symbols found on Shang dynasty oracle bones, which were used for divination over 3 millennia later. Could these be the first tentative steps toward a written language, or are they simply ritualistic doodles with no linguistic meaning? The debate centers on 16 distinct symbols found across multiple artifacts. Unlike random scratches, these marks appear standardized, repeated in similar forms on different shells and bones. One symbol, resembling the modern Chinese character for "I", has sparked particular excitement. If these markings do represent an early writing system, it would push the origins of Chinese script back by millennia, reshaping our understanding of how writing evolved in East Asia. But not everyone is convinced. Skeptics argue that without longer sequences or clear grammatical patterns, the Jiahu symbols might just be ownership marks or ceremonial decorations. After all, the tortoise shells were found in graves, suggesting they could have held spiritual significance rather than communicative purpose. Adding to the mystery, some shells were drilled with holes and filled with small pebbles, possibly used as rattles in rituals. Were the symbols part of these ceremonies, or did they serve a more practical function like tallying goods or recording events? The Jiahu symbols sit at the blurry boundary between art and language. If they are indeed proto-writing, they could rewrite the history of Chinese civilization. But until more evidence surfaces, these ancient marks remain silent witnesses to a lost chapter of human innovation. Next, we'll unravel the knotted chords of the Inca Empire, the Quipu, a system that turned strings into a language of numbers and perhaps stories. Now, let's travel across the world to the towering Andes Mountains, where the Inca Empire once thrived, not with pen and paper, but with a language of knots. The Quipu, an intricate system of colored, knotted chords, was their ingenious way of recording everything from census data to harvest yields. Imagine an ancient spreadsheet, but woven from strings instead of typed on a screen. These quipus weren't just random tangles. Each knot's position, color, and even the direction it was tied held specific meanings. The Incas used a base 10 system, where knots at different heights represented units, tens, hundreds, and beyond. A cluster of knots at the top might signify thousands, while a single knot at the bottom could mark a single item. Recent breakthroughs have cracked this numeric code, allowing researchers to read quipus like accounting ledgers revealing tax records, population counts, and even tribute payments across the empire. But here's the twist: some quipus don't fit this neat numerical mold. These outliers, often with more complex colors and knot patterns, are believed to encode narrative stories, laws, or even histories. Unlike their number-focused cousins, these narrative quipus remain a mystery. Without a modern Rosetta Stone like a bilingual text or a living descendant of the Quipu makers, their stories stay locked in the fibers. Spanish chroniclers wrote that the Inca used quipus to record everything from battles to poetry. One account even claims that after the conquest, a quipu was presented in court as legal evidence. But the Spanish, intent on dismantling Inca culture, destroyed countless quipus, dismissing them as pagan relics. Today, only about 600 survive, many tucked away in museums or private collections. The quest to decode narrative quipus is like trying to reconstruct a novel from a handful of scattered words. Researchers are experimenting with AI to analyze patterns, while others study oral traditions from Andean communities for clues. Could the key lie in the way certain colors symbolize places or gods, or in the way chords are twisted together? For now, these knotted enigmas guard their secrets tightly. Next, we'll turn our attention to another contested artifact, the Rongorongo Codex, a Hungarian manuscript filled with symbols that defy every alphabet known to history. Shifting our focus from knotted chords to cryptic pages, we arrive at one of Europe's most baffling manuscripts, the Rongorongo Codex. Discovered in Hungary in the early 19th century, this 200-page book is filled with dense, handwritten symbols unlike any known alphabet. Its pages are a puzzle wrapped in an enigma, adorned with peculiar illustrations of religious scenes, battles, and even what appear to be celestial maps. But the real mystery: no one can agree on what language it's written in, or if it's a language at all. Some scholars argue the script is a form of Old Hungarian, pointing to its discovery in Hungary and faint resemblances to medieval runes. Others propose a Dacian origin, linking it to the ancient civilization that once thrived in modern-day Romania. Then there's the wildcard theory that the entire codex is an elaborate hoax, its symbols invented to mimic writing without any real meaning. Statistical analyses of symbol frequency haven't settled the debate. While some patterns resemble natural language, others defy linguistic norms, leaving experts divided. The illustrations add another layer of intrigue. Crosses and crescent moons suggest Christian or Islamic influences, while scenes of soldiers and castles hint at historical events. But without a bilingual key like the Rosetta Stone for Egyptian hieroglyphs, these images are clues without a solution. Even the manuscript's provenance is murky. It surfaced in the library of a Hungarian nobleman, with no record of how it got there or who created it. Modern technology has brought fresh eyes to the codex. Computer algorithms have mapped its symbols, searching for repetitions or grammatical structures. Some researchers claim to have identified names of Hungarian kings or biblical figures, but these findings remain hotly contested. Skeptics counter that the symbols are too inconsistent, possibly crafted by someone with fragmentary knowledge of multiple scripts. As the debate rages on, the Rongorongo Codex sits in quiet defiance, its pages whispering secrets we can't yet understand. Next, we'll journey back to the ancient Levant, where the Biblo-syllabary's mix of hieroglyphs and linear signs has stumped linguists for over a century. Now, let's travel to the ancient shores of Lebanon, where another linguistic puzzle awaits the Biblo-syllabary. Dating back over 3,000 years, these inscriptions were discovered in the port city of Byblos, a hub of trade and culture in the second millennium before the Common Era. What makes these carvings so perplexing? They're a strange hybrid, blending elements of Egyptian hieroglyphs with a completely unknown linear script. Imagine trying to read a book where half the pages are in a language you recognize and the other half are pure gibberish. That's the challenge scholars face with the Biblo-syllabary. The inscriptions appear on bronze tablets and stone slabs, often alongside Egyptian symbols, suggesting a cultural crossroads. Some signs clearly borrow from hieroglyphs, like the Ankh or the Eye of Horus, but others are utterly unique squiggles, dots, and lines arranged in ways that defy translation. This mix has led to heated debates. Is it a Creole script developed by traders to bridge languages, or is it a standalone writing system lost to time? Decipherment attempts have hit wall after wall. Early researchers hoped the Egyptian parallels would act as a Rosetta Stone, but the overlapping symbols don't consistently match known meanings. One theory suggests the script records a Semitic language, given Byblos's ties to Phoenician and Canaanite cultures. Yet, without a bilingual text or even a clear understanding of how many signs represent syllables versus whole words, progress has stalled. Modern technology has offered little help. Computer analysis struggles with the script's brevity. Most inscriptions are just a few lines long, leaving too little data for patterns to emerge. Some linguists argue the script might not even be a full writing system, but rather a set of ritual or administrative symbols. Others point to similar-looking signs in later Phoenician alphabets, hinting at a possible evolutionary link. But until a longer, clearer text surfaces, the Biblo-syllabary remains a tantalizing dead end. As we leave the Mediterranean coast, our next stop takes us even deeper into antiquity, to the Olmec heartland of Mexico, where the Cascajal block's cryptic glyphs challenge everything we know about the origins of writing in the Americas. Shifting our gaze to the lush landscapes of ancient Mesoamerica, we encounter the enigmatic Isthmian script, a system of glyphs carved into stone monuments between the years 500 and 600 of the Common Era. Found primarily in what is now southern Mexico, these intricate symbols are believed to be connected to the earlier Epi-Olmec writing, yet their true meaning remains fiercely debated among scholars. Picture a puzzle where every expert holds a different piece of the solution, but no one can agree on how they fit together. That's the mystery of the Isthmian script. The glyphs appear on towering stelae and ceremonial objects, often accompanying depictions of rulers and mythological scenes. Some signs bear a striking resemblance to those used by the Epi-Olmec civilization, suggesting a cultural or linguistic link. But here's the twist. While Epi-Olmec writing has seen partial decipherment, Isthmian glyphs resist clear interpretation. One school of thought argues they represent an early form of the Zoque language spoken by descendants of the Olmecs. Others propose ties to Mix or even Mayan dialects, adding layers of complexity to the puzzle. The debate intensified in 1986 with the discovery of the La Moggera Stela, a massive stone slab covered in over 400 glyphs, the longest Isthmian text ever found. Initial translations claimed it recorded the exploits of a ruler named Harvester Mountain Lord, complete with dates and conquests, but skeptics quickly pointed out inconsistencies, noting that the same glyphs could be read multiple ways depending on the assumed language. Without a bilingual inscription or even consensus on which language family the script encodes, the stela's message stays frustratingly out of reach. Modern technology has only deepened the intrigue. Computer analyses reveal statistical patterns hinting at a syllabic system, where symbols represent sounds rather than whole words, yet even this breakthrough comes with caveats. Some glyphs may logograms standing for concepts like power or rain, while others could be phonetic clues. Compounding the challenge is the script's limited corpus. Fewer than 30 known texts exist, leaving researchers starved for comparative material. As we step back from these carved mysteries, one thing is clear: the Isthmian script guards its secrets as fiercely as the jungle guards its ruins. But our journey through history's unsolved codes isn't over yet. Next, we'll venture into the heart of Olmec territory, where an even older artifact, the Cascadule block, rewrites the story of writing itself. Now, let's travel even further back in time to the roots of Mesoamerican writing, the Olmec hieroglyphs. Dating back to around 1,100 years before the Common Era, these ancient symbols are among the earliest evidence of writing in the Americas. But unlike the later Isthmian script, the Olmec glyphs are far more mysterious, with only a handful of examples surviving the centuries. The most famous of these is the Cascadule block, a serpentine slab discovered in the 1990s in Veracruz, Mexico. Covered in 62 carefully carved symbols, this artifact sent shockwaves through the archaeological world. Why? Because it predates other known Mesoamerican writing systems by several centuries, suggesting the Olmecs, often called the mother culture of the region, may have pioneered written communication here. The symbols on the block are arranged in horizontal lines, some repeating in patterns that hint at a structured system. A few resemble objects like insects, corn, or thrones, while others are abstract circles, dots, and zigzags. But here's the catch: without a larger body of texts to compare, deciphering them is like trying to read a book with only one page. Some scholars argue these glyphs represent a true writing system, possibly recording names, rituals, or even early poetry. Others caution that they might be proto-writing, symbolic markings that convey meaning but lack the complexity of full language. Adding to the debate is the block's discovery context. Unlike the Isthmian stelae, which were found in formal settings, the Cascadule block was unearthed in a rubble pile, raising questions about its original purpose. Was it a practice tablet, a sacred object, or something else entirely? The answers remain elusive, but one thing is certain: if the Olmec glyphs are indeed writing, they rewrite the timeline of literacy in the Americas. As we piece together these fragments of the past, the Olmecs challenge us to rethink where and how writing began. And with that, we're ready to uncover another layer of the puzzle. Next up, the Phaistos disk's curious symbols and the debate over whether it's a genuine artifact or an ancient hoax. Shifting our focus to another ancient enigma, we arrive at the Phaistos disk, an artifact as baffling as it is beautiful. Unearthed in 1908 in the Minoan Palace of Phaistos on Crete, this fired clay disc is covered in 45 unique symbols stamped in a spiral pattern. Unlike handwritten scripts, these symbols were pressed into the clay with individual seals, making the disc one of the earliest examples of movable type in history. But here's the twist. No other artifact like it has ever been found, leaving scholars to wonder, was this a lone experiment or part of a lost tradition? The symbols themselves are a mesmerizing mix of the familiar and the cryptic. Some depict easily recognizable figures, a helmeted head, a fish, a bee, while others are abstract like spirals or branching lines. Of the 45 signs, a handful bear a striking resemblance to symbols from Linear A, the still undeciphered script used by the Minoans. This overlap has fueled theories that the disk's language could be an early form of Minoan or perhaps a ceremonial variant. But without repeating sequences or longer texts to compare, cracking the code feels like solving a puzzle with half the pieces missing. What makes the Phaistos disk especially frustrating for cryptographers is its brevity. With just 242 symbols total, arranged in 61 groups, there simply isn't enough material to apply statistical methods used on longer scripts like Linear B. Some groups appear only once, and even the most frequent symbols repeat just a handful of times. Is it a prayer, a calendar, or a royal proclamation? Without context, every interpretation remains speculative. Adding to the intrigue is the disk's disputed authenticity. A few skeptics argue it could be an elaborate hoax, though most experts dismiss this due to its discovery in a well-documented archaeological layer. Yet the mystery endures. If it's genuine, why was this intricate, labor-intensive object created in isolation? And if it's writing, why hasn't a single other example surfaced in over a century of excavations? As we turn the page on this artifact, one thing is clear: the Phaistos disk refuses to give up its secrets easily. And with that, we're ready to delve deeper into the Voynich Manuscript's bizarre botanical illustrations, where reality and fantasy blur in equal measure. Now, let's step into the lush, bewildering world of the Voynich Manuscript's botanical section, a place where reality and fantasy intertwine. Among its most perplexing features are the detailed illustrations of plants that defy identification. Nearly every page of this section bursts with vibrant, intricate drawings of flora, yet not a single one matches any known species with certainty. Some resemble distorted versions of real herbs, while others seem plucked straight from a medieval imagination. Theories about these mysterious plants range from the plausible to the extraordinary. A handful of researchers argue they could represent species from the Americas, suggesting the manuscript might predate Columbus's voyages, or that its creator had access to unknown transatlantic knowledge. Others propose these are symbolic or allegorical, blending real botany with alchemical or mystical imagery. Then there's the tantalizing possibility that some plants are entirely fictional, crafted to encode hidden meanings rather than depict nature. What makes these illustrations so frustrating for botanists is their uncanny near recognition. Leaves might mirror common European herbs like basil or mint, but with odd additions, extra petals, twisted roots, or fantastical colors. A few bear faint similarities to New World plants like sunflowers or peppers, but never closely enough to confirm a link. Without labels or a deciphered script to clarify, each drawing becomes a riddle wrapped in an enigma. Adding to the intrigue, some plants reappear in the manuscript's pharmaceutical section, paired with what appear to be recipes or remedies. Could these be medicinal herbs, their true identities lost to time? Or are they placeholders in a cipher, their forms deliberately altered to obscure a deeper message? The debate rages on, with modern technology like spectral imaging and AI pattern analysis offering new clues, but no definitive answers. As we close this chapter, the Voynich's botanical puzzles remind us that even nature, when filtered through the lens of an unknown hand, can become as cryptic as any code. And with that, we'll turn our attention to the celestial mysteries hidden in the manuscript's astronomical section, where stars and symbols collide in another layer of intrigue. Shifting our focus from the cryptic pages of the Voynich manuscript, we arrive at another enigma, one carved into wood rather than parchment. the Rongorongo Script of Easter Island, etched onto delicate wooden tablets, narrowly escaped oblivion in the most unexpected way. Imagine this: by the late 19th century, many of these sacred artifacts had been reduced to kindling, burned as firewood by islanders who no longer understood their meaning. It's a heartbreaking twist of fate, these intricate glyphs, possibly holding the secrets of the Rapa Nui civilization, were nearly lost to something as mundane as a cooking fire. What makes this loss even more devastating are the scattered missionary accounts hinting at a once-living tradition. Early European visitors recorded that Rongorongo was not just writing but a performative art, recited aloud by trained chanters who understood its rhythms. Some missionaries even claimed to have met elders who could translate the tablets, but these individuals died without passing on their knowledge. The few surviving tablets, often damaged or fragmented, are all that remain of what might have been a rich literary tradition. The irony is crushing. The very people who preserved Rongorongo's physical form, missionaries who collected the tablets as curiosities, were also part of the cultural upheaval that erased its meaning. Today, efforts to decode the script are haunted by these gaps. Without a bilingual text or a living tradition to reference, linguists are left with a puzzle missing half its pieces. The glyphs themselves, figures of birds, fish, and geometric patterns, tease with their familiarity, yet resist all attempts to link them to Polynesian languages or mythologies. One tantalizing clue comes from oral histories suggesting the tablets recorded genealogies, chants, or even navigational knowledge. But without those lost translation keys, the truth remains just out of reach. Modern technologies like 3D scanning have revealed hidden markings beneath the surface of the wood, offering faint hope. Yet for now, Rongorongo stands as a silent testament to how quickly knowledge can vanish, and how fragile our connection to the past truly is. As we leave the haunting story of these wooden tablets behind, our next stop takes us to the Indus Valley, where an even older script challenges decipherment with its own unique obstacles. Now, let's turn our attention to the ancient symbols of the Indus Valley, a script that has baffled scholars for over a century. Unlike the Rongorongo tablets, which at least offer visual clues through their carvings, the Indus script presents a different kind of mystery, one that even modern technology struggles to crack. The challenge begins with the nature of the inscriptions themselves. Most are frustratingly short, often just 5 or 6 symbols long, making it nearly impossible to detect patterns or grammatical rules. Imagine trying to decode an entire language from a handful of random words. It's like assembling a puzzle with most of the pieces missing. To make matters worse, there's no Rosetta Stone for the Indus script, no bilingual text to serve as a key. This is where artificial intelligence was supposed to help. Researchers have trained machine learning models on the script, hoping algorithms could spot hidden structures invisible to the human eye. But the results have been mixed. Some studies suggest the symbols might not represent a language at all, but something more like clan markings or religious symbols, a system of meaning without grammar or syntax. Others argue the script is linguistic but so condensed that it's essentially shorthand, like a Bronze Age version of emojis. The debate gets even thornier when you consider the script's context. These symbols appear on seals, pottery, and weights, often tied to trade. Could they be owners' marks, price tags, or even early barcodes? Without longer texts or a clear link to a known language, even the most advanced computers hit a wall. Yet there's a glimmer of hope. Recent comparisons to Mesopotamian trade records hint that some symbols might correspond to names or places. If true, this could finally provide the bilingual clue needed to break the code. For now, though, the Indus script remains one of history's most stubborn puzzles, a reminder that some secrets refuse to yield even to the power of artificial intelligence. Next, we'll examine another cipher that defies modern decryption, the Beale Papers, where a solved portion only deepens the mystery of what remains unsolved. Shifting gears from ancient scripts to a more modern enigma, let's unravel the curious case of the Beale Ciphers, a treasure hunt wrapped in cryptographic frustration. In the early 19th century, a man named Thomas Beale allegedly buried a fortune in gold and silver somewhere in Virginia, leaving behind 3 coded papers detailing its location. Here's where the mystery twists. While the second cipher was cracked over a century ago, the other 2 remained stubbornly unsolved, despite using what should have been the same key. The breakthrough came when a cryptographer realized the second cipher was a book cipher, where numbers correspond to words in a specific text, in this case the Declaration of Independence. By matching each number to the first letter of the numbered word in the document, the message revealed an inventory of the buried treasure, thousands of pounds of precious metals. But here's the catch. When enthusiasts tried the same method on the first and third ciphers, which supposedly described the treasure's location and its owners, the result was gibberish. Why does this approach fail for the other 2? Theories abound. Some argue Beale used different keys for each cipher, perhaps other historical documents like the Constitution or the Magna Carta. Others suspect errors in the numbering or transcription of the codes, rendering them unreadable. There's even speculation that the unsolved ciphers are a red herring, designed to send treasure hunters on a wild goose chase while the real clues lie elsewhere. The Beale Ciphers expose a fascinating quirk of cryptography. Solving one piece of a puzzle doesn't guarantee mastery of the rest. Without the original key documents, if they ever existed, the remaining codes may forever guard their secrets. And so, the treasure, if real, stays hidden, a reminder that even the cleverest ciphers can outwit us when we least expect it. Up next, we'll dive into another cipher that taunts investigators with its layers of deception. The Zodiac Killer's 340-character code, where every breakthrough seems to lead to more questions. Now, let's step into the chilling world of one of history's most infamous unsolved ciphers, the Zodiac Killer's 340-character code. Unlike the Beale Ciphers, which tease with the promise of treasure, this cipher is tied to a series of brutal murders and taunting letters sent to newspapers in the late 1960s. The killer's 340-symbol cipher, mailed in 1969, is a masterclass in cryptographic mischief, blending letters, symbols, and deliberate obfuscation to create a puzzle that still resists decryption. What makes this cipher so maddening is its use of homophonic substitution, a technique where multiple symbols can represent the same letter, making frequency analysis, the usual go-to method for cracking codes, far less effective. The Zodiac didn't just swap letters for symbols, he layered them with redundancy, ensuring that even if you guessed one symbol's meaning, others might stand in for the same letter. To add to the chaos, some experts believe the cipher contains intentional errors or red herrings, designed to send codebreakers down endless rabbit holes. The debate over these potential mistakes splits the cryptography community. Some argue that symbols were misplaced or omitted, either by the Zodiac's carelessness or as a deliberate mind game. Others insist every squiggle and character was meticulously planned to mislead. This uncertainty has led to multiple partial decryptions, each offering tantalizing fragments of text but never the full message. In 2020, a team of amateur and professional codebreakers claimed a breakthrough, but even their solution left gaps, with sections deemed too ambiguous to confirm. What's striking about the Zodiac cipher is how it mirrors his persona: calculating, arrogant, and obsessed with control. He didn't just want to hide his message, he wanted to prove he could outsmart the world. And for over 5 decades, he's succeeded. Whether the 340 cipher holds his identity, more taunts, or just gibberish, remains one of cryptography's most haunting questions. Next, we'll turn to a cipher carved not on paper, but into art, the Kryptos Sculpture, where 3 solved sections only deepen the mystery of its unsolved fourth. Shifting our focus from the chilling taunts of the Zodiac Killer, we arrive at a cipher embedded not in letters or symbols, but in art, the enigmatic Kryptos Sculpture. Standing outside CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, This copper and granite artwork by Jim Sanborn has baffled cryptographers since its unveiling in 1990. While 3 of its 4 encoded sections have been cracked, the final 97 characters remain stubbornly unsolved, fueling endless speculation about their meaning. What makes Kryptos so intriguing is its dual nature: part sculpture, part cryptographic puzzle. The first 3 sections, deciphered between 1998 and 2010, reveal poetic fragments and references to historical events. But the 4th section, the longest and most complex, resists all attempts. Sanborn himself has dropped cryptic hints, suggesting it ties into CIA operations or even ancient Egyptian mythology. One clue pointed to a specific coordinate near the agency's headquarters, while another referenced a keyword hidden in plain sight, possibly Berlin or clock. Yet, despite these breadcrumbs, the solution remains just out of reach. Theories about the unsolved section range from the practical to the fantastical. Some believe it encodes classified intelligence methods, a nod to the sculpture's location. Others argue it's a philosophical statement, weaving together themes of secrecy and human curiosity. The Egyptian angle is particularly compelling, with Sanborn hinting at connections to the Rosetta Stone or hieroglyphic duality. This blend of modern espionage and ancient symbolism only deepens the mystery. What's fascinating is how Kryptos mirrors the very essence of code-breaking patience, collaboration, and occasional frustration. Sanborn has admitted that even he might not recall the full solution, adding another layer of intrigue. Whether the final section reveals a hidden message or simply celebrates the art of the unsolvable, it stands as a testament to cryptography's enduring allure. Next, we'll journey back thousands of years to the Proto-Elamite script, where accounting tokens and commodity signs blur the line between language and early record-keeping. Now, let's travel even further back in time to the dawn of written communication itself, the Proto-Elamite script. Emerging in what is now Iran around 5,000 years ago, this ancient system of markings represents one of humanity's earliest attempts to move beyond simple record-keeping into something resembling true writing. But unlike later scripts, Proto-Elamite blurs the line between language and inventory lists, making it a nightmare for modern decipherers. What makes Proto-Elamite so puzzling is its connection to an even older system, clay tokens. Before writing, civilizations used small clay shapes to track goods like grain or livestock. Over time, these tokens were pressed into clay tablets, leaving impressions that evolved into symbols. Some researchers believe Proto-Elamite grew directly from this token system, with many of its signs representing commodities rather than spoken words. Imagine trying to decode a grocery list where half the items are just abstract squiggles. That's the challenge linguists face. The script structure adds another layer of confusion. Unlike cuneiform or hieroglyphs, Proto-Elamite lacks clear grammatical patterns. Many inscriptions are short, repetitive, and focused on economic transactions, offering little context for cracking its code. Some signs appear to log quantities or types of goods, like jars of oil or bundles of wool, while others might denote names or places. But without bilingual texts or a Rosetta Stone equivalent, the meaning behind these symbols remains locked away. Recent breakthroughs have come from studying the script's evolution. By comparing early Proto-Elamite tablets with later ones, scholars noticed signs simplifying over time, hinting at a shift from pictorial to abstract. Yet, even this progress hasn't yielded a full translation. The biggest hurdle: many signs likely stood for objects or ideas, not phonetic sounds, making them impossible to read aloud like a modern alphabet. This isn't just an academic puzzle, it's a window into how writing itself was born. Proto-Elamite may not tell epic stories or reveal lost philosophies, but it captures the moment humans began turning scratches on clay into a system that could outlast memory. And that's a code worth cracking. Next, we'll examine the Vinca symbols, a set of even older markings that some believe could rewrite the history of writing altogether. Moving deeper into the roots of ancient symbols, we arrive at the enigmatic Vinca markings etched into pottery and figurines long before the pyramids were even a blueprint. Found scattered across the Danube Valley in southeastern Europe, these mysterious symbols date back an astonishing 7,000 years, making them far older than the Proto-Elamite script we just explored. But here's where the debate ignites. Are these intricate carvings the earliest form of writing, or just the artistic doodles of Neolithic potters? The Vinca symbols first came to light in the early 20th century, unearthed alongside clay figurines and household artifacts in modern-day Serbia and Romania. Ranging from simple lines and crosses to more complex spirals and zigzags, these marks appear on everything from ritual objects to everyday bowls. Some researchers argue they're proto-writing, a system of signs conveying meaning, even if not a full language. Others dismiss them as mere potter's marks, akin to a craftsman signing their work or noting batch numbers. What fuels the controversy is their sheer repetition. Certain symbols, like the comb-like motif or the branching tree design, pop up across multiple sites, suggesting they held shared significance. But without longer sequences or contextual clues, it's impossible to say if they represented words, numbers, or ownership. Compare them to the Indus Valley Script, where symbols cluster in ways that hint at syntax. The Vinca marks, by contrast, often stand alone like cryptic stamps. Cultural context adds another layer. Many symbols appear on figurines with exaggerated features. Think goddess statues with wide hips or masked faces. This has led to theories linking the marks to fertility cults or shamanistic rituals. Yet skeptics point out that similar symbols decorate utilitarian items like spindle whorls, undermining the sacred writing narrative. Could they be decorative, practical, or both? The answer might lie in the middle. Modern technology hasn't cracked the Vinca code, but it has revealed patterns. Statistical analyses show certain symbols recur too frequently to be random, yet not enough to confirm linguistic structure. It's a tantalizing gray zone, one that keeps archaeologists divided. Until someone unearths a Vinca Rosetta Stone, these symbols will remain a captivating mystery, straddling the line between art and language. Next, we'll turn to another ancient puzzle, the Liber Linteus, where text and textile intertwine in the most unexpected way. Now, let's unravel a mystery where language and linen collide. The Liber Linteus, the only known Etruscan text preserved not on stone or clay, but wrapped around an Egyptian mummy. This bizarre twist of fate gives us the longest surviving Etruscan manuscript, yet its meaning remains just out of reach. Discovered in the mid-19th century in Croatia, the Zagreb mummy was initially just another curiosity until someone noticed the strips of linen bandages weren't blank. They were covered in Etruscan script, a language that thrived in ancient Italy but vanished after Roman dominance. The text, now called the Liber Linteus or Linen Book, stretches over 1,200 words, far longer than any other Etruscan inscription. But here's the catch: Etruscan isn't fully deciphered. Unlike Egyptian hieroglyphs, which had the Rosetta Stone, Etruscan lacks a bilingual key. That's where the painstaking work begins. Scholars have pieced together fragments of Etruscan by comparing loanwords in Latin and Greek, along with short funerary inscriptions. The Liber Linteus offers a rare opportunity. Its length could unlock grammar and vocabulary. Early translations suggest it's a religious calendar detailing rituals and deities. Phrases like Cele Athena, Sky of Athena, hint at connections to Greek mythology, while repeated sequences may mark dates or offerings. The mummy's preservation is a stroke of luck. Unlike brittle papyrus or faded ink, the linen's tight weave protected the ink for over 2 millennia. Even more intriguing, the text was likely cut from a scroll and repurposed as mummy wrappings, meaning the original document was considered expendable, a stark contrast to its modern value. Bilingual hopes rest on overlapping names or phrases. For instance, the Etruscan god Tinia resembles Zeus and Artemi mirrors Artemis. but without a full parallel text, progress is slow. Recent imaging techniques, however, are revealing faded sections, and AI pattern analysis might spot overlooked repetitions. The Liber Linteus stands as a paradox, a beautifully preserved text in a language we can't fully read. Yet each deciphered word brings us closer to hearing the Etruscans' voices across the centuries. Up next, we'll examine another artifact caught between cultures, the Fuente Magna Bowl, where Sumerian signs in Bolivia spark theories of ancient global connections. Now, let's journey from the linen-wrapped mysteries of the Etruscans to a discovery that blurs the lines between continents, the Fuente Magna Bowl. Found in Bolivia in the 1950s, this ceramic vessel sparked a firestorm of debate with its striking resemblance to ancient Sumerian script. Could it be proof of transoceanic contact thousands of years before Columbus, or is there a simpler explanation? The bowl's surface is etched with symbols eerily similar to those used in Mesopotamia around 3000 BC. Side by side, some glyphs nearly mirror Sumerian cuneiform, like the sign for God or the markings for water. Proponents of the ancient connection theory argue that traders or migrants must have carried writing systems across the Atlantic, rewriting the story of pre-Columbian America. But skeptics raise a critical question. How did a Sumerian artifact end up in the heart of South America without leaving a trail of evidence elsewhere? Doubts about the bowl's authenticity are fueled by its murky discovery. Unlike professionally excavated relics, it was reportedly found by a local farmer near Lake Titicaca with no archaeological context. Critics suggest the glyphs might be amateur carvings or even an elaborate hoax, pointing to inconsistencies in the symbol's execution. Some signs appear clumsily copied from Sumerian dictionaries, while others defy known cuneiform conventions. Yet the debate isn't one-sided. Advanced material analysis shows the bowl's age aligns with ancient origins, and a handful of scholars propose alternative theories, like a shared symbolic language among early civilizations. Could these glyphs be coincidental parallels or remnants of a lost culture that influenced both hemispheres? The Fuente Magna Bowl remains a riddle wrapped in controversy. Whether it's a misplaced Mesopotamian relic, a local imitation, or something else entirely, it challenges our assumptions about ancient isolation. Next, we'll turn to another artifact stirring similar questions, the Tartaria tablets, where tiny clay objects from Romania might hold clues to Europe's earliest writing. Shifting our focus from South America to Eastern Europe, we encounter the enigmatic Tartaria tablets, three small clay objects discovered in Romania in the 1960s. What makes these artifacts so intriguing isn't just their cryptic symbols, but the heated debate over their age. Initially dismissed as random Neolithic markings, revised carbon dating has thrown a curveball, suggesting they might be as old as 5,500 years. That places them squarely in the same era as early Sumerian writing, raising a tantalizing question. Could these tablets be evidence of Europe's first writing system, or even a bridge between ancient scripts? The symbols on the tablets, a mix of linear strokes and abstract shapes, don't match any known alphabet, but their arrangement hints at deliberate communication. Some researchers argue they resemble proto-writing, a step between simple tally marks and full-fledged language. If true, this could mean writing developed independently in multiple regions, challenging the long-held belief that Mesopotamia was the sole cradle of literacy. But here's where it gets controversial. The tablets were found near ancient human remains, and their revised dating aligns them with the Vinca culture, a Neolithic society known for its symbolic pottery. Skeptics counter that the markings might be ritualistic or decorative, not linguistic. Without longer texts or bilingual inscriptions, decipherment remains a dead end. Yet the Indo-European connection adds another layer. Some linguists propose the symbols could be ancestral to later scripts used by cultures spreading across Europe and Asia. Imagine a thread linking these cryptic marks to languages like Sanskrit or Greek. Though for now, it's just a hypothesis. the Tartaria tablets stand at the crossroads of archaeology and speculation. Whether they're sacred doodles or a lost writing system, their revised chronology forces us to rethink the timeline of human communication. Next, we'll examine another ancient puzzle, the Jiahu symbols, where markings on tortoise shells might push the origins of Chinese writing back thousands of years. Now, let's journey even further back in time, to the banks of China's Yellow River, where archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary. Etched onto tortoise shells buried in ancient graves at Jiahu, these markings date back an astonishing 9,000 years. That's millennia older than the Shang dynasty's famous oracle bones, long considered the birthplace of Chinese writing. But here's the twist. Are these Jiahu symbols just random scratches, or could they be the earliest seeds of a writing system? The shells found in Neolithic graves bear carved signs that eerily resemble later Chinese characters. Some, like a symbol resembling the modern character for I, seem too deliberate to dismiss as coincidence. This has led scholars to ask, did the Jiahu people invent a proto-script that eventually evolved into the Han characters used today? Supporters of this theory point to the shell's ritual context. They were likely used in divination, much like the Shang oracle bones. If true, it would mean Chinese writing has roots twice as deep as previously thought. But skeptics push back. Unlike the Shang inscriptions, which form coherent sentences, the Jiahu marks are isolated and sparse. Without recurring patterns or longer sequences, it's hard to prove their systematic writing. Could they instead be ownership marks, clan symbols, or even decorative doodles? The debate hinges on a critical question: when do scratches become script? What's undeniable is the cultural thread. The Jiahu site also yielded flutes made from bird bones, proof of a sophisticated society with rituals and artistry. If these symbols are indeed early writing, they'd rewrite not just China's linguistic history, but our global understanding of how symbols transition into language. Next, we'll untangle another knotted mystery, the Quipu of the Incas, where colorful chords may hold stories far beyond mere numbers. Leaving behind the etched symbols of ancient China, we now turn our attention to a completely different kind of code, one made not of ink or carvings, but of knotted strings. The Quipu, used by the Inca Empire, is often called the talking knots, and for good reason. While many assume these intricate chords were just accounting tools, recent discoveries suggest they might hold something far more complex, entire narratives woven into their fibers. Imagine a system where every knot's position, size, and even the color of the cord could convey meaning. The Incas used quipus to record everything from tax records to census data, with knots representing numbers in a base 10 system. But here's where it gets fascinating. Spanish chroniclers from the colonial era wrote that some quipus contained histories, laws, and even poetry. If true, this would mean the Incas developed a three-dimensional writing system unlike anything else in the ancient world. The challenge: most surviving quipus were destroyed during the Spanish conquest, and the few that remain are tightly guarded in museums. Without a modern Rosetta Stone to decode them, researchers rely on ethno-historical accounts and comparisons to Quechua, the Inca language. Some scholars, like anthropologist Sabine Heil, argue that the colors and fiber types of the chords might encode syllables or words, not just numbers. For example, a quipu with camelid hair dyed in specific shades could tell a story about a royal ceremony or a battle. Yet skeptics question whether quipus could ever convey full narratives. Unlike traditional writing, they lack obvious symbols for verbs or abstract concepts. Could the Spanish accounts have exaggerated their complexity, or are we simply missing the key to unlock their linguistic potential? What's undeniable is the quipu's sophistication. These weren't just crude tallying devices, they were part of a vast administrative network that held an empire together. And if even a fraction of their narrative potential is real, It would force us to rethink what writing really means. Up next, we'll explore another script shrouded in mystery, the Biblo-syllabary, where ancient trade and writing collide in unexpected ways. Now, let's journey to the bustling ports of ancient Byblos, where a script unlike any other reveals the tangled roots of trade and language. The Biblo-syllabary, discovered on 10 bronze tablets and a handful of other artifacts, is a puzzle wrapped in cultural exchange. Dating back to the 2nd millennium before the Common Era, this script blends Egyptian hieroglyphs with linear symbols, creating a hybrid system that scholars believe was tailored for Levantine merchants. Picture a world where Egyptian traders and local scribes needed a way to communicate across languages. The Biblo script appears to be their solution, a Creole writing system that borrowed hieroglyphic shapes but simplified them into strokes that could be quickly etched onto metal or stone. Some signs resemble familiar Egyptian symbols like the Ankh or the Eye of Horus, while others are entirely unique, suggesting a local innovation. This mix hints at a practical script designed for record-keeping in a multicultural hub. But why hasn't it been deciphered? Unlike the Rosetta Stone, which provided a Greek key to Egyptian hieroglyphs, the Biblo's tablets offer no bilingual text. Worse, most inscriptions are frustratingly short, with the longest containing just 220 signs. Without more examples, linguists struggle to determine whether the symbols represent syllables, words, or even sounds. Some propose links to later Phoenician writing, but the evidence remains speculative. What makes this script especially intriguing is its potential role in the evolution of alphabets. Byblos was a gateway between Egypt and the Mediterranean, and its scribes might have experimented with simplifying hieroglyphs into something more versatile. Could this be a missing link between pictorial writing and the Phoenician alphabet that later spread across the ancient world? Yet skeptics caution against overstating its influence. The script's limited corpus and geographic confinement suggest it may have been a short-lived experiment rather than a widespread system. Was it a trade jargon, a diplomatic code, or something else entirely? Until more tablets surface, the Biblo-syllabary remains a tantalizing glimpse into how writing adapts to the chaos of commerce. Next, we'll uncover the secrets of the Isthmian script, where a single stela might hold the key to a lost Mesoamerican language. Shifting our focus to the dense jungles of Veracruz, we encounter a stone slab that rewrote the history of Mesoamerican writing. The La Mojara stela, unearthed in 1986, is a towering monument covered in 400 intricate glyphs of the mysterious Isthmian script. This discovery didn't just expand the corpus of known symbols, it ignited fierce debates over the power struggles and rulers of a forgotten civilization. Carved sometime between the 4th and 6th centuries, the stela depicts a regal figure adorned in elaborate headgear, flanked by columns of glyphs that some scholars believe narrate his rise to power. The script itself is a labyrinth of human figures, animals, and abstract symbols, arranged in a way that suggests both logographic and syllabic elements. What sets it apart is its sheer length. Unlike the fragmented inscriptions found elsewhere, this stela offers a continuous narrative, a rare window into the political and ceremonial life of ancient Mesoamerica. But reading that narrative has proven divisive. Two leading translations have emerged, each telling a dramatically different story. One camp deciphers the text as the tale of a ruler named Harvester Mountain Lord, celebrating his military victories and divine favor. The other interprets it as a chronicle of cosmic events, tying the ruler's deeds to celestial cycles. The disagreement hinges on fundamental questions. Are these glyphs recording history, mythology, or both? Without a bilingual key like the Rosetta Stone for Egyptian hieroglyphs, linguists rely on painstaking comparisons to later scripts like Maya, with mixed results. The stela's importance goes beyond translation. Its artistic style bridges the gap between earlier Olmec motifs and later classic Veracruz culture, suggesting the Isthmian script was a cultural linchpin. Some glyphs resemble those on the Tuxtla statuette and the Teotihuacan murals, hinting at a writing system that spanned regions and epochs. Yet, despite these connections, the script vanished by the 7th century, leaving behind unanswered questions. Was it supplanted by Maya influence, or did political collapse erase its scribes? What makes the La Mojara Stela so compelling is its duality. It's both a masterpiece of art and a cipher of lost knowledge. Every glyph is a piece of a puzzle that could reshape our understanding of pre-Columbian communication. And as we'll soon see, even older scripts like the Olmec's Cascajal block hold their own enigmatic clues to the origins of writing in the Americas. Now, let's turn our attention to the broader puzzle surrounding the Olmec's Cascajal block. While this fired clay artifact, discovered in the late 1990s, is often celebrated as the oldest writing in the Americas, its true significance can only be understood alongside other relics from the Veracruz region. The problem: many of these artifacts were either looted before proper study or excavated with such poor documentation that their context is forever lost. Take, for example, the handful of carved jade celts and serpentine plaques found near the Cascajal site. Some bear faint glyph-like markings that eerily resemble the block's symbols, suggesting a wider writing system. But because these objects were ripped from their original settings by treasure hunters, we can't say for certain if they were part of ceremonial offerings, trade goods, or even early attempts at record-keeping. Archaeologists are left piecing together a jigsaw with half the pieces missing. Then there's the San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan site, just miles away, where stone monuments and pottery shards display similar abstract designs. A few scholars argue these could be proto-writing precursors to the more structured glyphs on the Cascajal block. Yet without stratified excavation records, it's impossible to confirm whether these markings evolved into a full script or remained purely decorative. The irony is crushing. The very region that might hold the keys to understanding Mesoamerica's first writing system has been stripped of the evidence needed to prove it. Even the Cascajal block itself suffers from this ambiguity. Found in a pile of rubble during a highway construction project, its original placement, whether in a temple, a ruler's tomb, or a trash heap, could have revealed volumes about its purpose. Was it a sacred text, a merchant's ledger, or something else entirely? The answers might have been lying in the soil around it, now bulldozed into oblivion. What makes this loss so devastating is the block's potential to rewrite history. Its 62 glyphs, including insect-like shapes and maize stalks, hint at a writing system far older than Maya or Zapotec scripts. But without the supporting cast of artifacts from Veracruz, the Cascajal block remains a solitary enigma, a tantalizing glimpse of a literacy that might have been far more widespread than we'll ever know. As we move forward, remember this: every looted artifact and poorly documented dig isn't just a stolen object. It's a stolen chapter in humanity's story. And in our next exploration, we'll see how even the most enigmatic codes, like the Phaistos disc-stamped symbols, raise similar questions about the fragility of ancient knowledge. Shifting our focus to another ancient mystery, the Phaistos disc stands out not just for its undeciphered symbols, but for how those symbols were made. This fired clay disc, discovered in 1908 in Crete's Minoan palace of Phaistos, is covered with 45 unique signs arranged in a spiral. But here's what truly baffles scholars: every symbol was stamped into the clay with individual seals, like a primitive form of printing. Now consider this. Printing with movable type wouldn't become widespread for another 3,000 years after the disc's creation around 1800 BC. So why does this one artifact from Bronze Age Crete show such an advanced technique? No other Minoan texts, not even the linear tablets found nearby, use stamped symbols. Every other example of writing from this era was hand-carved or painted. That makes the Phaistos disc a technological outlier in its own time and place. Some researchers argue the disc's printing method points to an outsider origin. Could it have been brought to Crete by traders or migrants from a culture with different writing tools? Others suggest it might represent a lost local innovation, a short-lived experiment in mass-producing texts that never caught on. There's even a fringe theory that the disk isn't ancient at all, but an elaborate hoax, though most experts dismiss this due to the artifact's verified archaeological context. What's equally puzzling is the disk's content. The symbols range from human figures and animals to abstract shapes, but unlike linear A, they don't form repeating patterns that could hint at language structure. This, combined with the printing technique, makes the disk feel oddly modern and ancient at the same time. It's as if someone dropped a single page from an unknown book into the middle of Minoan civilization, leaving us to wonder if it was a lone invention or evidence of a forgotten writing revolution. The Phaistos disk reminds us that ancient technologies might have taken paths we've barely begun to trace. Its stamped symbols are a whisper of possibilities, lost methods, borrowed ideas, or innovations that vanished without a trace. And as we'll see next, even the Voynich Manuscript's bizarre botanical illustrations raise similar questions about the gaps in our understanding of the past. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the most visually striking sections of the Voynich Manuscript, the mysterious astronomical pages. Nestled among the manuscript's bizarre botanical drawings and unreadable text are intricate circular diagrams that resemble zodiac signs and star charts. These celestial illustrations have sparked endless debate among researchers, not just because of their cryptic symbols, but because they might hold the key to understanding the manuscript's origins. Take a closer look at these diagrams and you'll notice they're divided into 12 segments, each filled with tiny nude figures, mostly women, standing in what appear to be barrels or baskets. Surrounding them are clusters of stars and unfamiliar constellations, some labeled with the same undeciphered script found throughout the rest of the manuscript. At first glance, these diagrams seem to follow the traditional zodiac, but there's a twist. The symbols don't perfectly match any known medieval European or Middle Eastern astrological system. Some scholars argue the zodiac pages point to a European origin, possibly reflecting an obscure herbal or medical tradition where celestial bodies were linked to healing practices. Others see parallels to Arabic or Persian astronomy, suggesting the manuscript could be a fusion of Eastern and Western cosmological ideas. One particularly compelling theory ties the diagrams to 15th century Jewish mysticism, where zodiac imagery was used in Kabbalistic texts. But without readable labels, these connections remain speculative. What makes these pages even more puzzling is their potential practical use. Could they have served as an agricultural calendar, guiding planting and harvesting based on star positions? Or were they part of an alchemical or astrological guide meant to predict celestial events? The presence of what look like folding flaps on some pages hints that the manuscript might have been interactive, with layers of hidden information waiting to be revealed. The Voynich's astronomical section is a reminder of how much we still don't know about medieval cosmology. Its star charts float in a limbo between recognition and mystery, teasing us with glimpses of a system that might have been common knowledge to its original readers. As we'll see next, even Easter Island's Rongorongo Script carries similar echoes of a lost understanding, waiting to be pieced back together. Leaving behind the celestial mysteries of the Voynich Manuscript, we journey to the remote shores of Easter Island, where another enigma waits, one carved not on parchment but on weathered wooden tablets. The Rongorongo Script's cryptic glyphs have long baffled linguists, but some of its most intriguing symbols might hold a clue in the island's sacred birdman cult. Among the repeating motifs in Rongorongo are stylized frigate birds and humanoid figures clutching what appear to be ceremonial staffs. These images eerily mirror the rituals of the Tangata Monu, or birdman competition, a central tradition in Rapa Nui culture. Each year, warriors would race to retrieve the first sooty-tern egg from a nearby islet, and the winner's chief would be crowned as the birdman, a spiritual leader believed to channel the god Makemake. The frigate bird, a recurring figure in the glyphs, was sacred in this ritual, symbolizing both the connection to the divine and the island's fragile ecosystem. Could these carvings be records of the competition's winners or prayers to the gods for fertility and survival? Some researchers argue the staff-like symbols represent the aku-aku, or ancestral spirits who guided the birdmen. Others suggest the glyphs encode chants or genealogies tied to the cult, a theory supported by oral histories describing priests who once read the tablets aloud during ceremonies. Tragically, when Christian missionaries arrived in the 19th century, they burned most of the tablets as pagan objects, severing the last living links to their meaning. What survives is a haunting echo. The surviving Rongorongo glyphs and the birdman tradition share a common thread. Both were born from an island society teetering on the edge of collapse. As deforestation and overpopulation crippled Easter Island, the cult's rituals grew more desperate, and the glyphs may reflect that struggle. Were they pleas for divine intervention or records of a fading world? Like the Voynich's star charts, Rongorongo's bird glyphs hover between recognition and mystery. But where one manuscript hides its secrets in ink, the other whispers them through wood. If only we could understand the language. Up next, we'll see how symbols from the ancient Indus Valley might hold keys to an even older trade network, one that spanned continents. Now, let's turn our attention to one of the oldest urban civilizations and its silent script, the Indus Valley. While the Rongorongo glyphs whisper through wood, the symbols of the Indus Valley speak through stone and clay, offering tantalizing hints of a vast ancient trade network. Dating back over 4,000 years, the Indus Valley Script consists of hundreds of brief inscriptions, mostly etched onto seals used for trade. These tiny artifacts, often no larger than a stamp, bear symbols that resemble everything from fish to abstract geometric shapes. But here's where it gets fascinating. Some of these seals have been found as far away as Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This discovery suggests a bustling trade relationship between these two great civilizations, and it's within these exchanges that linguists see a glimmer of hope for cracking the code. The key lies in the possibility of bilingual texts. Imagine a Mesopotamian merchant receiving an Indus Valley seal. Might they have recorded the foreign symbols alongside their own cuneiform script? If such a record exists, it could act like the Rosetta Stone, providing a direct translation bridge. So far, no definitive bilingual artifact has been found, but researchers are piecing together clues. For example, some Mesopotamian texts mention a distant land called Meluha, widely believed to be the Indus Valley. These references describe goods like ivory, carnelian, and lapis lazuli materials that match archaeological finds in Indus cities. Even without a Rosetta Stone, modern technology is lending a hand. Artificial intelligence has been trained to analyze the script's patterns, searching for grammatical structures or repeating sequences that might indicate names of rulers, cities, or deities. One promising approach compares Indus symbols to Mesopotamian seals featuring similar imagery, like the recurring unicorn motif. Could these shared symbols represent trade goods or royal titles? The challenge is that Indus inscriptions are frustratingly short. Most are just 5 or 6 characters, making it hard to confirm any theory. What's at stake isn't just the meaning of a few symbols, but the voice of an entire civilization. Decoding the script could reveal how the Indus people governed their cities, worshipped their gods, or even why their culture eventually declined. For now, their words remain locked in clay, waiting for the right key to turn. Next, we'll wrap up our journey through these unsolved codes, reflecting on why they captivate us and how close we might be to breaking their secrets. As we reach the end of our journey through these 50 enigmatic codes, one thing becomes clear: the mystery is often as compelling as the solution. From the botanical riddles of the Voynich Manuscript to the knotted secrets of the Inca Quipus, these unsolved scripts are more than just puzzles. They're windows into lost worlds, each holding stories of civilizations, their triumphs, and their disappearances. What keeps us coming back isn't just the challenge of cracking a code, but the human connection, the chance to hear voices silenced by time. Today, we have tools our predecessors could only dream of. Artificial intelligence sifts through symbol patterns at lightning speed, while global collaborations pool knowledge across disciplines. Yet, even with these advances, some codes resist, reminding us that the past guards its secrets closely. Maybe that's why they fascinate us. They're the ultimate cold cases, waiting for that one breakthrough, that sudden flash of insight. So what do you think? Could the Indus Valley Script hide a royal proclamation? Or is the Phaistos disk an ancient hoax? Drop your theories in the comments below. You might just spark the idea that finally unlocks one of these mysteries. And if you've enjoyed this deep dive into history's greatest unsolved codes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next exploration into the unknown. Until then, keep questioning, keep wondering, and who knows, maybe you'll be the one to decipher what history has kept hidden.